I got laid off yesterday after 9 years. No warning, no handshake, not even a face-to-face conversation, just a phone call. Hey, your services are no longer needed. 9 years. 9 years of saying yes to every single thing they ever asked me to do. Every crappy job nobody else wanted. Every big project. Every hour of overtime. Every weekend. Every holiday. And they couldn't even look me in the eye to end it. I'm a tradesman. I work in construction. I've been with this company almost a decade, and yesterday, just like that, it was over. And the thing is, I thought I was safe. I thought I was in the inner circle. I thought if I just kept grinding, kept showing up, kept saying yes to everything, they'd take care of me. They'd see my loyalty and they'd reward it. That's what they told us. The day before, they laid me off. The day before, they held a meeting at the shop, and management stood up there and said, "You guys are here because you're the best of the best. You're professionals. You're like family to us." Family. And for a split second, I actually bought it. I felt something in my chest. Pride, maybe. I thought, this is my company. I'm going to retire here. I'm going to be one of those guys who's been around for 20 years and knows everything. 24 hours later, I was out. And today, I want to talk about what that actually feels like, what I've learned from it, and what I'm going to do differently from here on out. Because I know a lot of you watching this are in the same boat. You gave everything to a job, and they threw you away the second it was convenient. And you need to hear that you're not the only one who feels like this. But first, let me tell you who I was before yesterday, because I think it matters. I didn't just lose a job. I lost my whole identity. For 9 years, this is who I was. I was the guy who showed up early and left late. The guy who never called in sick, who hardly ever took a sick day in 9 years. The guy who never took a real vacation. Not one. Not a single real vacation in almost a decade. A long weekend here and there. That's it. That's all I ever gave myself. And I was proud of that. I wore it like a badge of honor. Like it proved something about my character. Like it made me tougher, more dedicated, more loyal than everybody else in that shop. And over time, they told us it was optional. Technically, sure. It was optional the way breathing is optional, because everybody knew that if you didn't do it, you were on the list. You were that guy. Oh, the guy who doesn't want to put in the work. The guy who's going to be first out the door when things get slow. So I said yes. Every single time. Every weekend they asked. Every late night. Every early morning. I said yes. And here's the thing nobody talks about. Every single time I said yes to work, I was saying no to someone else. No to my family, no to my friends, no to myself. I missed dinners. I missed birthdays. I missed holidays. I missed just being present for the people who actually love me. Not because there was some emergency, not because the building was on fire, but because I was afraid. Afraid that if I wasn't available, if I wasn't the most reliable guy on the roster, I'd lose my place in line. And I did that for almost a decade. Day after day after day, every single day was exactly the same. Wake up, go to work, come home exhausted, fall asleep, do it all over again like Groundhog Day. And somewhere in the middle of all that repetition, 9 years just vanished. Gone. Like they never happened. And here's what really gets me today. Sitting here the morning after, I owe people apologies. Real ones. People who asked me to show up for them, for a dinner, for a birthday, for just one afternoon together. And I chose work every single time because I thought the company was keeping score. I thought my loyalty was building something that would last. It wasn't. All it was doing was making someone else richer while my own life slipped away. I think about this one buddy of mine. He asked me to go fishing with him probably a dozen times over the years. Easy stuff, just a Saturday morning on the lake, nothing complicated. And every single time I said I couldn't make it, I had overtime, I had a job to finish, I had to stay close to my phone in case they called me in on the weekend, and eventually he stopped asking, he just stopped, and I didn't even notice at the time because I was too busy working. And now I'm sitting here with all the free time in the world, and I'm thinking about how many of those moments I just threw away, not for something meaningful, not for something lasting, for a company that couldn't even give me a handshake on my way out the door. I think about my family too, all those holidays I worked through, all those evenings I came home so tired I couldn't hold a conversation, all those times someone I loved asked me for something simple. Just my time, just my presence. And I said I couldn't. I had work. I always had work. And the whole time I was telling myself it was temporary. Just get through this busy stretch. Just finish this project. Just put in a few more years, and then everything will slow down, and I'll have all the time in the world. But there was always another busy stretch. There was always another project. And 9 years went by like nothing. That's the part they don't warn you about. It's not just the paycheck you lose, it's the sudden, awful clarity of seeing everything you traded for it. All those hours, all those people, all those moments you can never get back. And you realize you didn't just give them your labor, you gave them your life. And they didn't even notice. There was this culture at my company that made everything worse. This toxic good old boys club that had been growing for years. Nepotism was everywhere. If you went to a certain high school, you got recruited and pushed straight to the top. If you knew the right people, if you were somebody's nephew or somebody's drinking buddy, you were set. You could do half the work and get twice the recognition. And if you didn't fit any of those categories, if you were just some guy who showed up every day and did his job and did it well, it didn't matter how hard you tried. You were invisible. I hit the ceiling years ago. I wasn't going anywhere. I could have worked another 20 years, and nothing would have changed. The view from where I stood was never going to get any different. But I kept grinding anyway, because I told myself that eventually loyalty would pay off. That if I just kept my head down and outworked everyone, they'd have to notice. They'd have to care. They noticed. They just didn't care. There was this guy I worked with. He'd been with the company way longer than me. One of the most skilled tradesmen I've ever known. The kind of guy who could look at a problem and know how to fix it before anyone else even understood what was wrong. He knew every system, every client, every shortcut. He was irreplaceable. And they replaced him, let him go about a year back. And when he left, it was like he'd never existed. Nobody mentioned his name, nobody checked on him. Within a week, someone new was standing in his spot, and the work kept right on moving without him. And I remember thinking at the time, that would never happen to me. I'm too valuable. I've been here too long. I've given too much. And then yesterday happened. And I realized I was telling myself the exact same lie he probably told himself. So let me tell you about that phone call, because I still haven't fully processed it. The day before, we had the meeting, the Your Family meeting, the You're the Best of the Best meeting. And I left that meeting feeling good, feeling secure, feeling like maybe all those years of sacrifice were finally worth something. And then the next morning, my phone rings. It wasn't a sit-down conversation. It wasn't my boss looking me in the eye. It was a phone call. 9 years, and they gave me a phone call. Your services are no longer needed. Turn in your van. We'll send you your last check. That's the whole thing. That's all 9 years amounted to. Couldn't come out to the job site. Couldn't shake hands. Couldn't say goodbye to the guys I'd been working with every single day. Couldn't get so much as a thanks for everything you did for us. Just, you're done. See you later. And they let a lot of good guys go yesterday. Not just me. Guys I thought were untouchable. Guys who'd been there longer, who were better, who I was certain would be the very last ones standing if things got bad. Nobody's immune. Nobody. And that's a lesson I will never forget. I woke up this morning with this feeling of dread sitting heavy in my stomach. That feeling where you know something terrible happened, but for 1 second, you can't remember what. And then it comes flooding back. And you realize it wasn't a dream. You're unemployed. You have nowhere to go today. And there's this whole mess of feelings I still can't untangle. There's the shock of it. There's anger. There's a deep, gut-level sense of betrayal that I don't know what to do with. But then there's something else underneath all of that. Something I honestly didn't expect to feel. Relief. Because the truth is, I was completely burned out. I'd been doing this too long without a single real break. The work had been slowing down for months, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew this day was coming. I just didn't want to face it. I'd been quietly trying to prepare myself, trying to imagine what my life might look like if I wasn't doing this anymore. And now, here I am, and the decision has been made for me. So now I'm standing at this crossroads, and I keep going back and forth between two paths. One path, I go find another shop, get right back into construction, resume the grind. Same work, same hours, same routine. Nothing changes except the name on the van. The other path, I take this forced pause, this thing that feels like the end of everything, and I actually use it. Learn something new, build a different kind of life, maybe find work that doesn't hollow me out from the inside. And there's pressure, a lot of pressure to take that first path. The older people in my life keep saying, get right back in the saddle, don't get used to not working. Before you know it, you'll be on the couch getting soft and lazy. And I hear that, and I'm not going to sit around drowning in self-pity. That's not who I am. I've worked since I was a teenager. I don't know how to do nothing, but I also know something now that I didn't know 2 days ago. I will never be loyal to a company like that again, ever. Not like that. Not where I sacrifice my health, my relationships, my entire life on the promise that they'll take care of me. Because they won't. In my line of work, you're just a number. You're a drill motor, and when you're worn out, they throw you away and grab a new one. That's not me being dramatic. That is the honest reality. And I wish somebody had shaken me and told me that 9 years ago. And the other lesson, the one that keeps me up right now, is that I never want to depend on a single source of income again. I don't want to be on my knees hoping some employer decides to keep me around, where one phone call can take away everything I have through no fault of my own. That is a terrifying way to live, and I lived that way for 9 years without ever seeing it clearly. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this time not just to chase the next paycheck, but to actually build something different, learn new skills, create things, figure out how to make sure I'm never this vulnerable again. I know how to do a lot of things. Maybe nothing that will replace my old income right away, but enough to keep me going. Enough to buy myself options while I figure out what the next chapter looks like. And I'm going to reconnect with my family, with my friends, with the people I've been saying no to for almost a decade because I was too busy saying yes to a company that just erased me with a 2-minute phone call. Because here's what I finally understand: the place you work for does not care about you. Mine told me I was family. I wasn't family. Nobody in a real family gets fired over the phone with no warning. You say no to your actual family so you can go to work. You make sacrifice after sacrifice, and at the end of it all, they toss you out anyway. And then what do you have left? I'm not bitter. I'm just awake now. And yeah, there's a lot I wish I'd done differently. A lot of moments I can't get back. But I also learned something that 9 years of loyalty couldn't teach me. Never build your entire life on something that isn't yours. I could sit here and feel sorry for myself. I could say this happened to me. I could be angry and stay stuck. But what if it happened for me? What if this forced pause is the thing I actually needed? What if losing the life I thought I wanted is the only way I'd ever find the life I'm supposed to have? I don't know what's next. I genuinely don't. But I know one thing. I'm not going back to sleep. I was walking around today, just trying to clear my head, and I realized this is the first weekday morning in 9 years where I didn't have somewhere to be, where nobody was expecting me, where I didn't have a task list or a schedule or a boss waiting for me to show up. And it was disorienting, but it was also kind of beautiful in a way I don't fully understand yet. Because for the first time in almost a decade, I get to ask myself what I actually want. Not what the company needs, not what the schedule demands. What do I want? And I don't have the answer yet. But at least I'm finally asking the question. So if you've been here, if you got laid off, or you're scared it's coming, or you're just exhausted from giving everything to a job that would forget you in a week, I want to hear from you. What are you doing to prepare for the next storm? Are you saving, building skills, creating something on the side? Drop a comment below, because I'm looking for people who've stood at the same crossroads and found a way forward. I think there are thousands of us out there, maybe millions. People who woke up one day and realized that the thing they'd built their entire life around was never really theirs to begin with. And now we're all just trying to figure out what comes next. The future is completely unwritten, and for the first time in 9 years, I get to decide what goes on the page. That's terrifying, but it's also the most real thing I've felt in a long, long time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the